So now let's say we have this package called for each loop.dtsx. This is the package name over here, and we want to be deploying it. So you deploy it to your integration services catalog, which is present in your, which you can access through your SQL Server Management Studio. You can see over here, there's something called the integration services catalogs. Okay. Now, if you expand over here, you will see that there's something called the SSIS DB. Okay, the first time you try to execute, there won't be anything called the SSIS DB. And for getting the integration services catalogs, what you have to use a developer edition at least. You can, if you're using the Express edition of SQL Server, it will not be containing the integration services catalog. You have to use at least a developer edition of SQL Server. Another thing is that you have to install your integration services when you install your SQL Server database. So if you have not done that, then just go over here, go to your SQL Server Installation Center. Okay, so if you have installed 2017, you'll have something called the SQL Server 2017 Installation Center. Go to that and then run an installation for that component itself. Okay, just a standalone installation. So you do not need to install it once again. You just need to do a standalone installation. So it looks something like this. Let me show you. Okay, so this is my installation. This is my installation file for SQL Server. Go to custom. Okay, say install. It will try to access all your files. Okay, it will take some time to come up. Then this window will come up. You have to go to installation and select new SQL Server standalone installation or add features to an existing installation. So go to this link. Okay. And then keep on doing next and next, and you'll come over here in this particular section, feature selection. Select your integration services. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, let's do it once again then. Yes. Okay, so what you need to do is simply click on your installation file for SQL Server, which is over here. Once you click on that, you'll get a window like this. Okay, once you get a window like this, it is your SQL Server Installation Center. You need to select new SQL Server standalone installation or add features to an existing installation. Click on this. Once you click on this, then you'll get an option. You'll get a wizard kind of thing, and you just need to click on next and next. What you need to remember over here is you need to go to your feature selection, and there you have to check mark your integration services. In your feature selection, you'll have a list of all the options you want to install. Okay, you'll have your analysis services, integration services. So install, check all those options and install, because we will be using the analysis services as well, so we'll need that as well. Okay, so I have them already installed, so I'm coming out of it again. When you will click on this window on your installation file, you'll get all these options. Go to custom. Okay, because we need to now select. Don't do a basic installation. Go to custom and select under feature selection integration services as well as analysis services. All right. Excuse me. Once you do that, and if you have developer, excuse me, if you have developer edition, you'll be able to see this integration services catalogs. Now, you'll have this, but if you have not executed any package or if you're not deployed any package, you won't be having this database within it. So you need to right click on this and do a create catalog. Okay, so a window will pop up. when you do a create catalog, now I already have that catalog, so a window will pop up. When you do a create catalog, you just need to give the name of SSIS DB to it. Okay, and it will ask you for a password. So give a password. That is all you need to do. But before that, to be able to install, to create a new catalog, you need to have your integration services installed. Just being able to see this integration services catalogs in your SQL Server Management Studio does not mean that you have integration services installed on your SQL Server engine. For them to be installed, if you have done a basic installation, then do a custom installation as I showed you over here. And under feature selection, select integration services. And since we are going to start looking at analysis services from tomorrow, select analysis services as well, because that will be needed for doing the SSIS examples. Okay. So try doing that. If you have any questions, just send me an email or ask me tomorrow and I'll help you with that. Okay. So then once you have everything installed, just go to your integration services catalogs, right click, do a create catalog, give it any name. You can give it a name of SSIS DB, give a password, and that's it. That's all you need to do. There's an option to create it in the Azure database. Do not click that option. Do not take that option, because then you need to have an account with the Azure database. Okay, so we do not need that option for now. So you need to create this catalog. Once this catalog is created, go back to your Visual Studio. Now we want to deploy this. So what you can do over here is you can just right click, and you'll have an option to deploy the package. So click on that, deploy package, and this wizard will come up. It's called the deployment wizard. Click on next. It will ask you for the server name. This is the server name of your SQL Server engine. If you do not know the server name, go back here. This is basically what is your server name. If you still are not, you want to just copy it, then just do a select server name. Okay. Execute this query. You'll get your server name. Just copy it from here. Okay. Copy your server name over here. It will ask you to do an authentication. It's a Windows authentication of SQL Server most of the time. Do a connect over here. It will connect to it. Then it will be asking you which package you want to deploy. So you just browse and it will give you an option. Oh. Okay, it will ask you a destination project for your package deployment. Okay, so where do you want to create? I want to create in training 1 only. Okay, and you want a new project? Yes, I want a new project. So say a new project, give it a name. So this is going to be a for each loop. So whatever is your package name, you can give over here, or you can give any other name as well. Say okay. Okay. So now you have your folder name and package name. Say okay. Okay, so this is going to be your path. Say next. This is what it is going to deploy. Just say deploy. Okay, so deploying packages passed. Say close. Go back to your SQL Server. Refresh this your catalog. Go to SSIS DB. Go to training 1. That is a folder. Go to projects window, and you'll be able to see your project over here. The for each loop, the one that we deployed. If you click on the plus sign, you'll be able to see the packages, and this is your package .dtsx for each loop .dtsx. This is going to be your package for this. Okay. Now you can execute your package from here. Just right click and say execute. Okay. And it will ask you if there are any parameters you want to pass. Because I don't have any parameters, I'll just say okay. Okay. So it will ask you if you want to view any report. You can just say yes. Most of the time you can say no. It's just to show you how that report looks like. So a report will come. It will show you all this information. The result was succeeded and all that information. Okay. So you can just close it for now. But now what I want to show you is, let's go back to the Visual Studio and let's go back to a variable window. So we had a variable called var month name, which was a for each loop variable. It's an object and it selects its values from here. So that is all right. Let's add another variable. So this is a dummy variable. It's just to show you how parameters work, and let's call it something called var file name. Okay. So let's say we had this variable and we had the use of this variable in a task, say string, and the value is employee data. Okay. So now if I run this package, I have the variable value and it will take the variable value from here. But what if a better example would be a file path. Okay. So this is I have got some file path over here. Let's say the file path is like C colon, and then this is development environment, development, and then the file name like test.txt, something like this. Okay. So now if I run this package from here, it will take this variable file path. Okay. It will take the value in the variable that I created and will run the package accordingly. But what if I now need to deploy it to my testing environment where my path is different? My path now is C testing test.txt. Let's say this is my path. Now what will I do? What do I need to do? I need to again go back to the package and change the value once I deploy it to my test environment. I do not want to do that. So what is the option for that is to go to this parameters tab and create a parameter. Now parameters are simply like variables, but they are available for the execution of the SSIS package to be given a dynamic value. So you can create a parameter called anything. Okay. So let's look at another example for this, for which I've already created. So let's go back to the breakpoint. So this is an example where I have got the number of rows. Okay. Let me just copy this. So you can copy a package, copy, and then you just click on SSIS packages and do a paste. You have this breakpoint 1 now. Let's rename this and we'll deploy this. Okay. Rename this to parameter demo. Okay. And let's open this. Okay, so what I want now is, what I have done in this is simply a data flow task and a row count. Okay, and then expression task. Let's just remove this. Okay, so now this package is nothing. It is just a data flow task wherein we are reading a flat file and performing a row count, and we are storing the number of rows as in a variable called number of rows. So I've got a variable here. Okay, and it has a value of 0. Let's say I want to pass a default value of 1 to this. Okay, or any value. So now I want to be able to do that through my SSIS execution window and through the SQL Server engine. So what I'm going to do is going to create a parameter. Now the parameter I can call any name. So by parameter I am saying number of rows. The same thing I've defined. The data type is integer and so on and so on. Okay, so now I have a parameter. I've defined a parameter by adding a button over here. You can define a parameter. Okay. So I've defined a parameter called number of rows and so on. So I have a parameter defined. Now let's see how this works. So let's just save this and let's just deploy this. So again, right click, deploy package. This wizard will come up. Okay. Connect and then browse, and then within training, create a new project, and this is called parameter demo. Okay. Say okay. Say next and say deploy. Okay. Close. Now let's go back to our SQL Server Management Studio and refresh the project. Okay, now I have a project called parameter demo, packages and so on. Now if I want to run this, okay, right click and execute. It is asking me to pass a value to the parameter number of rows. Whereas in my earlier case, for the for each loop, when I was going to execute this, it was not asking me to pass any value because there was no parameter defined. So if you have just a variable defined in your package, it is within the package, it is in the scope of the package, and it takes the values as you define while you are designing the package. A parameter is like a runtime variable. So when you define a parameter, it has the same purpose as a variable, but it has the added advantage that you can pass a value for that parameter while you want to execute it through your SQL Server engine. Okay, so now I can pass a value, whatever value I want, I can pass it over here to my parameter. Okay, I can just click on it and pass it a value of 1. Okay, now again, this is manual. This is passing the value manually. I do not want to do that. Okay, for every environment, let's say for development, testing, and production, my values are going to be different. I do not want to be going and typing in my values. So what I'll do, and there might be, this is a simple example, having just one variable or one parameter. There might be a complex package with many number of variables, or I might be executing multiple packages and using the same variables across them, and I want the values to be dynamic. I want to just set the values once for each environment and then use those values for all my packages. So I do not want to be manually doing it and manually changing the values every time. So what you can do now is create an environment. So this is an environment. You'll have a folder called environment within your catalog. You can just right click on it and say create environment. Okay, and then you can give a environment name. Let's say the name is demo. An environment description, you can provide a description if you want to, and just say okay. Okay, so now I have an environment created, and I will right click on it and go to its properties. Okay, now here you can see you have something called the variables. Okay, so you can have your type, you can add your variable over here. Now the variable, I have the parameter called numRows, so I'm going to create a variable by the same name called numRows, and the data type is going to be, let's say, integer 32. The value is going to be, let's say, 0. Okay, if I want to add more values, I can add more values. If I want to define a path, I can add a value called the file path, and this would be a string. Okay, and I can give my path over here. So any path, let's say this is my path. Okay, okay, so this is, let's say the path is something called, for development it's called development downloads, for test it will be called test download. So I have created my path for the development environment. I'll just say okay. Okay, so now my environment has been created over here, demo environment. Now what I want to do is go back to my package, right click and select configure. Okay, so now this, the parameter that I have called the numRows, I want to pass the value to this parameter through the environment that I have created. So just click on this and say, sorry. So before that, what we need to do is add the environment. To go to references and add your environment which you want to use. You can add multiple environments. So you have got 2 environments available. So let's say I add demo, say okay. and then I add training as well, and uh, that is for my test environment, let's say. So I go back to my parameters, I go to the value of my parameter, and then I choose an option, use environment variable. Now, if I'm in my development environment, I choose the environment variable. Okay, this is a variable name. So I'll choose the environment variable as number of rows and say, okay. Okay. So you do not need to choose your environment. We are just choosing the value that we are passing to that environment. Okay. So now if you go back to your references, uh, okay, so you should ideally only add one environment. So if you're running this in your development, you'll be adding an environment which is specific to the development. When you pass this package on to your testing environment, you'll change your environment to your testing environment. Okay, the parameter mapping would be the same. When you move it to production, you can change your environment to your production environment. So what is the advantage of this approach is basically we are just changing the environments, and then the values of all the parameters for all the packages would accordingly get changed as per the environment that we have selected. Now this is our parameter demo. Again, packages, go to parameter demo and do an execute. Okay, so this is, now here you can select your environment variable. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. This is where you can set your environment. So you just go down over here. Okay, this was supposed to use environment variable. For each of your package, you have to select which environment you want to use. So this is your demo. Okay, say okay. Okay, so we do not want to be operating it right now, so it's okay. Now, if okay, yeah. So this is how you can use an environment variable basically. So now, for example, let's go to this package called breakpoint packages, breakpoint, right click and configure. Okay. So this same package, let's add another environment to it. Say, call it demo. Okay. And now, in the packages, when I want to execute this package, okay, I've configured it right. So when I want to execute it, right click, execute. Then you can define over here, if you have multiple environments selected, which environment you want, whether you want the demo environment or you want the training environment. So you have the ability to select your environment when you are going to execute your package. So that is basically the advantage of having an environment, that you can set the values in one place and then use them across packages in your project for deployment. Okay. So it's already 9. I'll just take 5 more minutes and let's just cover one more topic, and then we'll be done with most of the SSIS. So then we can start with SSIS tomorrow. So the other thing is simply related to this. What you can do basically is go to your SQL Server agent. Now, every time you want to be executing packages in your production environment, nobody is going to go and execute the packages manually. So you have to automate the process. So what is the process to make these packages execute automatically? So for that, you have the SQL Server agent. Okay, if you just click on the plus button next to the SQL Server agent, you'll see that there's something called the jobs. Okay, if you click on the jobs, you'll see that there are some jobs which are already created by default, which is the maintenance job and the purge history job, and you can create your own jobs as well. So click on jobs, right click and say new job, and then you can give any name to the job. So let's give it the name of demo. Okay, then go to steps. and say a new step and give it a step name. So it can be your execute package. Your type is your SQL Server Integration Services package. Run as SQL Server agent. Your package sources SSIS catalog. Use Windows authentication. Your server is going to be you just need to put your server name, which is the same as this. So let's just select it. Okay, because that package was executing. Okay, let's just say okay. Okay. New job step. Give your server name. Okay. Then it will ask you to select your package. So you have to go to your SSIDB training 1. Which package do you want to execute? So for each of the job, you can create a for each of the package you can create a job. So let's say parameter demo. Okay. And okay. Okay. So now go to advanced and go to general, go to configuration, package configuration over here, and then you have to select your environment. Okay, so this is how you will automate. You can select any environment based on the environment that you are in. So if you are in development, select an environment which is specific to development. If you are in testing, select an environment specific to testing. So you have to go to the configuration tab. Okay, and say okay. So now your job has been created. Go back to the SQL Server engine and you'll see that a job has been created called demo. Now go back to the SQL Server agent. Now I have created a job, but what I want to do is create a schedule for this job. So do a schedule. Okay, give it a name like demo schedule. Say okay. So go to jobs, go to manage schedules. Okay. So this is your demo schedule and this is going to run every day. So you can define your properties. Let's go to properties. So this is my schedule that I have defined. I can define my jobs in the schedule now. Okay, there are no jobs in the schedule, so I'll add the jobs in the schedule later on. But I can define the time. I can define the frequency when I want it to run. If it is a recurring job or it's a one-time job. What is my frequency, weekly, daily, monthly? When do I want it to run? Every 1 week, every day, which day, at what time? What is my start date? Is there an end date to that? So all those kind of features you can define over here. Then just click over here. You can see that the jobs in schedule is showing as 0. So click on here and then you have an option to select which job you want to include in this schedule. So you can select your demo schedule job. Okay. Okay. So if you say okay now, then this is in schedule. This job will be run every time at whatever time you have selected. So again, manage schedule. Okay, you have created this new schedule and this job will be run every week on Sunday at 1 p.m. or whatever you have given at 12 a.m. Okay. If you do not want it to run for now, you can just delete the schedule. So this is how you can automate your process to deploy a package to your environment and then create parameters for the package every time if you want to deploy them to different environments, and then create an environment variable file wherein you will have the values specific to your environment for all the variables that you are going to use across packages. And then you can automate you can create a job to automate the execution of the package and then create a schedule to run it on a fixed basis every time. So this is basically regarding the deployment of the SSIS package.